Welcome to Go Lurk Yourself, a podcast about playing video games and streaming on the internet. My name is Crunky.
And I am Cherry Cake.
This week we're going to talk about the new Nintendo Switch release, Yoshi's Crafted World. But before we get to that, Cherry, other than flying through the air, wrecking your motorcycle, what have you been doing this week?
Yeah. The reason that this episode is going up late, guys, is I had a bit of an accident last week. I decided it would be funny to try and take on a car on my motorbike, and I came off worse, funnily enough.
Yeah, you fought the car and the car won?
Pretty much, yeah, instead of fighting the law.
But no, you like dislocated your shoulder and everything.
Yeah, that was the worst injury that I came away with, so I'm considering that I hit a car, I think I came off quite lucky.
Yeah, but that's still, that really puts a cramp on your Yoshi playing, I bet.
Well, this has been the whole test this week, because it's my left arm that I've wrecked. And it's surprising how much you take it for granted until you lose it. And I've tried figuring out this week how many different ways I can play games without causing myself further injury. And
it was so funny the day you were in the accident. We were playing Siege that evening, and you're like, "I've got it worked out," because her arms in a sling, guys.
Yeah.
And she got the keyboard like sitting on her lap and her mouse, and
yep,
where you were killing it too.
It worked. It worked for a while, and then I think the next day after, I was like, "Oh no, I shouldn't have done that."
Well, the next day after an accident's always the worst anyway, because like we talked about it off air, but like all your other injuries that weren't as bad as your shoulder start to creep out.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like, obviously, like the main thing was my shoulder that day, and then the day after, I was like, man, I'm struggling to walk here, and I found like a massive bruise on my hip and on my knee. So obviously, when I've been chucked off, I've landed on it, but it was only apparent the day after. So finding those was really fun.
It's got to be a really stressful time though, because like you said, like just like taking a shower and getting dressed and stuff without your shoulder is just incredibly painful. Not to mention if you move it at all, it's like stabbing pains in your injuries.
It's honestly ridiculous. Like I said, like you don't realize how much freedom you have until you don't have it anymore. And like just taking a shower, something as simple just as having a shower, or even just trying to get a vest on and off with a knackered arm, it's so difficult. But anyway, so in regards to the gaming, I figured out that I am able to use the Joy-Cons on the Switch separated from the Switch. So if I use them solely and just keep the little Joy-Con in my left hand, I can use it fine. It doesn't cause any more pain or anything like that.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, it's. I'm quite grateful for it, because I think I would have been bored out of my mind otherwise. Because I'm off work, because I can't do anything while I'm at work. Right.
So you during this downtime, you were able to play Yoshi. What else did you play? Like we said, Siege, right?
Yeah, we played a bit of Siege, which actually it was you that brought to attention the new kind of game mode that they've introduced this week.
The April Fool's Day event.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that they've decided to do it for the whole week instead of just one day.
That would have been real tough.
Yeah. What they've done is you kind of have to see it to believe it. But for those that know Siege and know how serious it is and how realistic it is, this new game mode is basically the complete opposite to that. You go into it's the aeroplane level, and the whole setting is inside a kid's bedroom, and everything is bright colours and unicorns and rainbows, and you're a little toy soldier. You have like limited operators to work with as well, which is really good, because I figured that I was thinking about this when I was playing with Berserker the other day. If they'd included all of them, I think Glaz would have been abused so much on it, because he has the ability to shoot through the windows in the plane. But I like the fact that they've only, I think it's six operators that you can play as.
What was really interesting to me in playing it, and I don't know if you felt this way, but I wasn't there when Siege launched,
No.
and there was just a limited number of operators. It really feels like what maybe the game, not exactly, but sort of felt like back then when you only had, everyone knew the limited number of operators up front, and now it's like when I've been playing the game for 6 months, maybe a year. I don't even know how long it's been. I got hundreds of hours in it, and I still, somebody will kill me, and you guys are like, "Who was it?" I'm like, "I don't know, the guy with the shield on his gun, and whatever his name is." And you guys are like,
the other guy with the shield.
no, the other guy with the shield. You guys are like, "That's Blackbeard, you idiot." I'm like, "Sorry, I'm still learning, even though I've had this game for a year."
Yeah, we would never call you that, Crunk, ever.
Ever.
The other thing that they've also included in this is, are they called rainbow packs?
Yeah, the little the rainbow packs where you get bonus outfits that are very, very flamboyant, to say the least.
They're ridiculous, but like it's so much fun to see. If you are a Siege fan and haven't checked it out, do go and do so, because I think you only have like a couple of days maybe left to play.
Yeah, I think it's till from the 1st to the 8th or 9th. So as of this recording, you got a couple days, 2-3 days left.
But yeah, it's a nice change of pace.
The cosmetics that you get are so fun. It's like the first place a company I ever saw do this really well was Overwatch, Blizzard's Overwatch game, where they go really all out on the and Rainbow Six normally does not do this, but these event modes, like one of the guys is like dressed up in rainbows, and he has a unicorn hair, and his name is written on the front of his mask, and it's super over the top. Just fun stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I bought the complete pack just to over them all because I wanted to have them all for the fun of it. There's a character named Smoke who's in like a giant bear suit, or like some kind of purple teddy bear suit. It's awesome. Yeah,
the Janka has the unicorn helmet, which is brightly coloured. It's awesome. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
So apart from playing that with myself, have you been onto anything this week?
Well, I two things I wanted to talk about, and they're related on what we've been playing. I've been playing Cuphead, and I've been playing Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. And a couple weeks ago we talked about like a general first impressions of Sekiro, and I was pretty optimistic because I think I mentioned then I was kind of down about the game until I found the giant snake area, and that got me super excited.
Oh yeah.
I'm sad to say that after the snake area is another 2 hours, what was for me, of just the sameness of that game. And I'm really discouraged. I've not played it in days now. I was like, it's hard, and I expected that, but I didn't expect it to be boring. Like,
really?
I don't know, and it's not fair to compare it to Souls other than they're both made by FromSoft, but like the setting is interesting for a little bit, but one of the things that I guess I get spoiled by other video games is like as you go, things start to change and get different, or there's some kind of like, new area or new interesting enemies. And I'm not kidding when I say I've probably spent 20, 30 hours in this, and I've seen, I know the game's been out for a while, so I'll say it. Some things get sort of supernatural toward the end, but nothing like, other Souls games that I've played, or the Souls games where like, especially Bloodborne starts out, you think it's a werewolf game, and it turns out to be a Lovecraftian horror. Yeah. And Dark Souls, you go deeper and deeper into these areas, you start seeing otherworldly monsters and stuff, and there's the motivation to push through some of the frustrating parts of a Souls game is always what's around that next corner. In this game, I just don't feel it, and I've also watched like Brutal Nerd and Beardy and Chichen, all people who've been on the podcast before, play through it, and they're at like in-game stuff, and okay, here's like a dragon character that's a neat set piece, but then right after that they're just fighting a dude with a spear, and I'm like,
oh wow.
Yeah, the story hasn't grabbed me. The combat is frustratingly tedious.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I know me. Like, I hated Dark Souls the first few times I played it.
Yeah.
I hated Cuphead the first few times I played it, and here I am playing it now. So yeah. It's funny because the whole reason I played Cuphead was on a dare.
Oh, right.
I was watching our friend the Brozerker. You can find him at twitch.tv/thebrozerker. I'm sure we brought him up before.
Yeah.
But he was playing it. I was chilling in his stream watching him, and he was really struggling. And I go, hey dude, if you beat this boss in this session, I'll stream Cuphead tonight. And he was like, done. And all of a sudden he like turned on God mode and beat him. Where it looked before like there's no way. I'm like, this is a pretty safe bet just to give him shit,
Yeah.
And but I played it and I had a good time with it. I think for those of you who've been listening to the podcast long enough, remember us talking about this game. When I played it the first time, I played it co-op. And as you'll hear in our Yoshi's Crafted World discussion, co-op in some games can be really fun and rewarding, and sometimes it can be frustrating as shit. And Cuphead for me was frustrating to play co-op because the game's frustrating enough, let alone adding in the element of having to coordinate and keep track of. There's a lot of crap going on Cuphead, and when you've got another character who looks somewhat like you shooting lasers all around you, it's just a little too much for me. So, but I've been enjoying it this time. That said, I did rage quit it last night and switch over to Rainbow Six.
What made you rage quit?
I didn't really rage quit. I was playing the roller coaster boss, the clown on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I was getting frustrated, and I go, man, I should just probably switch over to Rainbow Six. And like 3 or 4 people in my chat were like, yes, let's all play Rainbow Six Siege. And I'm like, I don't need to hear anymore. Let's do it. And we ended up having a good time. I normally stream for like an hour and a half, 2 hours is like what I've averaged for the past few months.
Yeah.
I streamed last night for 4.5 hours.
Oof, wow.
It's the longest stream I've had probably this year, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
but that's what I've been playing.
I'm impressed that you went back to Cuphead, to be honest, because I do remember the first time that you played it, and you played it co-op with D, and I remember you getting very irate with it. I
was irate, and I was also like, it's one thing to be irritated. It's another thing to be irritated with your spouse, and it's another thing to be irritated. And my wife and I, we were about to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary this year. We go way back, but we have our communication issues like everybody does, right?
Yeah.
And she's super, like, my wife is super nice person, like, very soft spoken. Everybody thinks she's the greatest person in the world, and she is. She's my favorite person in the world, obviously. But if I get mad or frustrated with something she does on stream, I'm the asshole. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if she made a mistake. Crunk, you're such a jerk. Leave her be nice. So it's like the whole time I'm fighting like frustration with the game. I'm also like, don't look frustrated. You're gonna look like a real prick to everybody. I'm trying to not be that guy.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So it's like all this pressure. It was not a fun gaming experience.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to Yoshi's Crafted World, shall we?
If you like, yeah.
Yeah. Or do you have any other games you want to talk about that you played recently? I know you've been kind of busy.
Kind of, yeah. Busy getting into fights with cars. But yeah, like I was saying at the beginning, I am able to hold the Joy-Cons separated from the Switch. I've actually just been playing it just before we've been recording this podcast.
Nice.
And gripping it is fine. So I've been I was already like really excited to play Yoshi. I actually got it on Friday and then had an accident on Saturday, so I didn't have a chance to play it. But these past few days, I've absolutely dived into the world of it, and I really, really like it. I was a massive fan of Woolly World, anyway, which was the one that came before this.
Yeah.
But that was back in 2015. So
I was going to say, it's been a few years now. It was on the Wii U.
Wii U, yeah. So it has been like 4 years or so.
Wow. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I didn't play that on release. I played that a few years, was it last year?
Last year, the year before, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Probably last year, sounds about right.
So it was fairly recent that I played Woolly World. So I was already excited to play it for this. As soon as it got announced, I was already excited for it. And yeah, finally got around to playing it this week.
Despite your handicap?
Yes, despite that, thankfully. So yeah, it's a lot of what you would expect from a Yoshi game. If anyone has played Woolly World before, it's very, very similar in that vein. The one difference, obviously, being with it being a crafted world instead of a woolly world. So this is more created through just like household objects. I'd probably describe them as like cardboard, lollipop sticks, cream containers, yogurt drinks, those kind of like empty containing kind of objects.
Yeah, I mean, my impression or first impression of the game was that it like Woolly World or even way back the Yoshi's Island. It's got a lot of those same themes going on it where you toss the eggs.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is they're like changing up the look of the world each time.
Yeah.
But it's very much a Yoshi platformer game.
Yeah, it is. It is, like you say, what you would class as a standalone Yoshi game. So, again, very similar to the Woolly World one. If you've played it, you would know to collect flowers within the levels, collect red coins, collect health, throw eggs at things. You've got Shy Guys in the as enemies, along with other ones. Actually, they've included a lot more referenced enemies in Crafted World compared to Woolly World. So there's a lot of like old school enemies from like Super Mario World, Super Mario Brothers 3, I think, as well. Because as I was playing through it, I was like, I recognise where that enemy is from, but I don't really know where. And I was streaming it at the time, and some of the people that were in chat were like, "Oh, I recognise that. I know where this is from." So like, that was really nice to see. It's a good mix of old and new.
Definitely. The thing I saw or jumped off the screen right off the bat was I don't know what they're called, but the giant blobs that come out of the ground that have the big mouths and the eyes on them.
I only recently researched that, and they're called Blargs.
Blargs? Okay. There are Blargs in Super Mario Brothers, or Super Mario World for the SNES.
SNES, yeah. And
then Super Mario World 2, which is basically the first Yoshi game, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
There wasn't one on NES, I don't think. Not a Yoshi's game in this like platform.
No.
They had some like Yoshi's puzzle games, like Yoshi's Cookie and stuff was late in the NES lifetime, if I remember right.
Well, Yoshi was only introduced in 3, was it?
There was actually, he was introduced in that was his first Mario game, was in Super Mario World on the SNES. But he had a couple of games that came out on the NES that were like, where he was a character in it, and one of them famously is called Yoshi's Cookie. And I don't know, you'll have to forgive me, I don't remember if that predates Super Mario World, it was just a very late stage NES title, or if it came out because it was already, Yoshi was already in development. Because there's actually a couple of books that I've read. They wanted Yoshi to be in Super Mario 1.
Oh,
but
wow.
Hardware limitations didn't allow him to have him. So, like, Yoshi as a character predates when he showed up in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Miyamoto, I think, wanted him to ride a dinosaur way back. And I think they were going to try to put him in... They were going to try to put him in Mario 3. We finally put him in there, and they couldn't. It just wasn't enough hardware. And that's why when Mario World came out, all of a sudden, hey, here's the new gimmick. Yoshi's in it.
Yeah. One of the reasons that I get those two mixed up is because I think we've covered this before, but when I came to play Super Mario 3, I was playing the All-Stars version, which was released for the SNES. So to me, Super Mario Brothers 3 is a SNES title, but I know, my brain forgets that it was actually released for the NES. So that's why I think I tried to remember Yoshi being as a later edition.
Yeah, you didn't realize that as a child that you were playing one of the world's first remastered games.
No.
It's funny to think about it that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, how was your impression? I mean, did you enjoy Yoshi? Was it fun? Is it enough different from Woolly World to be exciting again, or are you kind of, does it feel a little samey to you?
Kind of all of those things, really.
Okay.
It's I so far I think I'm about probably just over 3/4 of the way through it, and I've just gone back and started doing some of the collectibles before I actually get to the end game. But from memory, I think Woolly World just tips it. I was thinking about this earlier as I was playing it, and one of the things that strikes me with Crafted World is that they've concentrated more on the levels being horizontal, whereas Woolly World, Yoshi's Woolly World, it had more verticality to it, so you would go up and down the level a lot more. Whereas this one, you tend, because they've changed a bit of the levels in that it's now including depth of field. So you're moving sort of away into the camera, if that makes sense.
In fact, that's because sometimes you go back. I didn't play near as long as you did.
Yeah.
But you go back to a world, and there's a mode where it flips the camera around.
Yeah.
And you play it from the other side.
Not just that. That is one of the other aspects that they brought in, which is really cool. But just on a normal playthrough, you're able to aim eggs at the background, not just on the path that you're on, and also in the foreground as well. But with the flipped version of the level, which is what you can do after completing just the normal run through of a level, it makes you. Oh, well, sorry, it doesn't make you, but you can go back into the level and do the flip version, which is the back view of the normal level, if that makes sense. So
so you figure you're on if you think of like a Mario world or any platformer as being like a 2D line, right?
Yeah.
You go left to right. Basically, the game is rendered in full 3D with some depth, like she said, with some depth to it, and literally with a camera on, let's say the north side facing south. When you go back in, they literally the camera will flip around and be on the south side facing north, and you play through the whole level backwards. But they add in other collectibles and things that maybe you couldn't see. So it's almost like getting two levels out of one because it feels different to play through it backwards. It reminds me of if you've never played Legend of Zelda. What's the one where he turns into a wolf called?
Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess. If you played that on the Wii, you actually play the mirrored version because when the Wii came out, and they put the waggle controls to swing Link's sword in, they made Link right-handed because more people are right-handed. And the way they did that wasn't like just recode the game to make him right-handed. They mirrored all the world, the rendering of the world. So literally, from the way it was designed to how you ended up playing it, instead of going down the road and hang on the left, you would go down the road and hang on the right. Like literally the whole world, every level was flipped. So a lot of people talk about going back and playing the GameCube version, because in the GameCube version there was no waggle of the Wiimote, and you literally, the game felt completely different because of everything was mirrored. Like, not completely different, but enough. It's disorienting enough because your memory of where things are is all out of whack because it's literally the opposite of what you think.
It's a really cool thing that they've introduced, because you essentially get to see what's behind the level that you play through the first time around. When you go back to play the flipped version, basically all you have to do is collect. Oh, actually, they've now included Poochie in this. And it's a ridiculously cute character. It's almost as cute as Yoshi, if not more cute.
You know what's more cute than the character, though?
What?
The Poochie amiibo that I have.
Oh, I was actually, as soon as I saw Poochie on the game, I was like, I want a plushie of that right now.
He literally there was a amiibo version of him from Yoshi's Woolly World.
Yeah.
So he's a little stuffed yarn Poochie. And he was really cute. I got him for my daughter. My daughter took him to she went to daycare during the summer a couple years ago when that game was new, like 2014.
Yeah.
And she would take him out on the playground, so he's all covered in dirt.
Uh-huh.
but it's got an amiibo chip in it, so I'm like, can I run this to the wash? How do I clean this up without ruining it?
That's a good point. I did hear actually if is that amiibo compatible with the Switch?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
If you put it on. With Yoshi's Crafted World, you actually get. Oh God, there's so many things included in this game. It's endless. The other thing that they've now put into Crafted World is you can collect costumes. So in Woolly World, you could collect different coloured Yoshis, like different yarn Yoshis. In this one, you have costumes which Yoshi sits in. You don't change the colour of the Yoshi itself, but it's just crafted little trinkets that you can put on, and it actually gives you a health boost as well. So if you run into an enemy, instead of Yoshi taking damage, the costume actually takes damage. The whole point of that conversation was, if you put Poochie on the Switch, I believe you get a Poochie costume, and that's the only way to get it.
Well, when my daughter gets home, I'll confirm that. I'll test it.
Please give it a try.
Find out.
Yeah.
I have two of the yarn Yoshis, but I don't have the great big yarn Yoshi from Amiibos. I had a bit of an Amiibo addiction back in its heyday.
I know you do. Yeah, I think you might have talked about that before.
I probably have. But yeah, I'll tell you if it's okay. I'll talk about my experience with the game for a little bit.
Yes, because you have actually played co-op with this, and I haven't.
Yeah. So we the first thing we did is we watched Zerker and Voxicor play it on one of their streams when on the day it came out, and they gamed a lot together and had a good time, and you could, but we talked to them afterwards, and you could kind of tell watching them that it was a little frustrating, and I was very concerned because I was going to play it with my daughter.
Yeah.
And we did. We played it. I think did we stream it?
I don't think so.
I think we just played it off stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played it on the TV, on the big TV. And there's a couple things working against me here on when it comes to... I'm very bad at co-op games where you can knock each other around.
Yeah.
Or in Yoshi's Crafted World, when you jump anywhere near your co-op partner, you land on their back. Or if they jump and you jump underneath them, they stick to your back. So like your trajectory of jumps where falling leads you to death is really impacted. If you're both trying to make a jump on like an auto-scrolling level, more likely than not, what you need to do, and what Zerker and Vox did was like, okay, here's a tricky part. Get on my back and let's go. Or if you're both trying to use your Yoshi tongues to like grab stuff, you will grab each other because you can eat each other and hold each other in each other's mouths in the game.
But I feel like at that point there, if you're having to say to someone, just get on my back and I'll do this, it defeats the object of being a co-op.
Right. It definitely feels like something that's a nice to have, also can do if you like, but don't. It's not like the intended experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, because at the time we started talking about doing this review, my daughter actually wanted this game, so I was like, which is interesting because she's played it all of 5 minutes without me. I'm like, hey, give this game a try. Let me know what you think. She's like, okay, and then she goes back to Roblox because she's really hooked on collecting stuff in Roblox. You know how that can pull you in, right?
No.
Well, a game can pull you in with a collecting mechanic, where
you mean
maybe
good
the game.
games?
Yeah, good games, bad games do it too, right? Mobile games do it just as bad as anybody. But anyway, this. I wanted to, or I wouldn't have played it, but Cherry was like, "Hey, my sister's going to be out of town, and that's who I'd usually co-op these games with."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, that's okay. I'll play it with Molly just to give it a go." And then Dee and I tried to play it the next day, so like I want to play some more of it because we'd only got through. Molly and I got through maybe. There's a second island in it, right after you fight one boss.
Yes. Yeah.
We got to the second island, maybe made it 3 in, and we're like, we need to take a break.
Oh, really?
so Dee came in, and I said, hey, do you want to take over because Molly didn't want to play anymore. I said, do you want to take over for Molly, and we'll play this like second world through, and maybe I'm going to get like halfway through the game at least.
Yeah.
And she's like, sure. And we both were like, after like 3 levels, we were like, yeah, let's not do this because it wasn't terrible. It wasn't, but it was just more frustrating than fun. And like I know I as a joke will say Yoshi's games are baby games because not because I really believe that, but because they are accessible for younger kids, newer to platforming, but also because I harbor this animosity toward Super Mario World 2 for
history,
like I probably mentioned this on here before, one of our shows, but basically I remember being in the store and not really into gaming as much back in the mid 90s or late 90s whenever this happened, and I saw a SNES game, Super Mario World 2. I'm like, I've not even heard of this. What is this? It's a sequel to Super Mario World. I bought it sight unseen. And there's a picture of Yoshi on it, but Yoshi was in the first one. I didn't think much of it. And I get home and I'm like, this is a freaking Yoshi game.
No, we talked about that before, though.
Yeah.
In Nintendo's eyes, you can see why they've done it. It's a marketing thing. It worked on you. If as Mario fan comes up and sees Super Mario World 2, and then doesn't see Yoshi's Island, you just immediately think that you're going to play a Super Mario game.
Right, and I get accused of being a Nintendo fanboy quite a bit, but I have on this podcast have said multiple times they do a lot of good, they do some bad stuff too, and this was one of them. Bait and switch. That was dirty in my book to call it that. It'd be like if it was the second one in a franchise, I'd get it. But it was like the 4th, 5th game that it just was like, hey, we know you love Mario and all the platforming. Well, how about instead of that, we give you a crybaby Mario and you run around with a Yoshi and you have to like hold a button down. Like, you remember how to aim in that one? You didn't aim with a stick. You had to hold a button down and it would rock back and forth and you let go when it was aiming where you wanted to go. So like, some of those toward the end were difficult platforming elements, and while that thing was arcing back and forth, you had to time your jump and where that thing was shooting, and it was frustrating. But,
yeah, I will say that they have updated that in A Crafted World, which I'm really happy about. You get to aim yourself the direction that you throw the egg now. It's no longer automated, so there is a lot more freedom in that now.
And I'll say this. I played probably 3 to 5 hours after Dee and I were done, like later that night before I went to bed, just to have some experience with the solo player. And it is a beautiful game. Like the best part about this game is not necessarily the platforming elements, but like the look, feel, and the world that they've quote unquote crafted here.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, Woolly World was a better video game, even though it didn't look as pretty. This one is a sequel. They said, how about instead of everything made of wool, everything's made out of knick-knack crap that you'd have in a crafting set? Yeah, that's great, and that's fine. But like, I think for an adult or someone who has played a lot of Yoshi games, they need to introduce some kind of new mechanic, not just bringing back the other enemies. Wasn't enough for me.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think maybe if they do bring another one out after this that is in the same vein but just in a different setting, I don't think it will be received as well, because I think they've pretty much done what they can do with Yoshi in this style, at least. Like you say, they do need something new and a different mechanic, maybe. To keep it fresh. I love the setting that it's in. It's like you were saying, it's absolutely beautiful what they've done with it. I am constantly blown away with the style of the levels. Each new level that I come across, I'm absolutely, like, my jaw is on the ground. And one of my notes actually that I wrote was the different types of levels that you come across. It's not just all plain sailing platforming, even with the depth of field being included and the flipped levels. There are other things, like you have flying levels or auto-scrolling levels, and you know,
you're in a giant Yoshi mech.
Oh yeah,
in one of
mechs
them.
as well. That is one thing that I absolutely love in this game. And also, in regards to like it being aimed at kids, I found those mech levels really difficult because you have to get the first one with the big Yoshi, where we like you essentially jump into a Yoshi that's like 1,000 times your size, and you get to control its arms. So you have like boxing gloves on, so you can punch things out of the way. But the actual mech itself is auto moving. You can slow it down slightly, but you can't stop it, and you can't turn the other way.
You can jump though.
You can jump as well, yeah. So
the interesting thing about that on the co-op is that each one of you controls one of the arms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's some depth there to it.
Yeah.
But I found those easy because basically I told Molly, you punch down, I'll punch up, and I'll do the jumps.
Yeah. I can see it being a two-player, it being quite or easier, I guess, because there are elements where you have to jump and punch at the same time in order to get full marks. I was running through it, like I said, I was going back and doing all the collectibles, and in the mech one for that, you have to get like over 9,000 points, and I think there's only like a total of 9,500 to 10,000 points in the whole level. So,
oh wow, yeah, you have to get almost everything.
Yeah, and getting the timing down on some of the punches is difficult. I don't know if it's just me with one arm, but it was hard.
I don't want to hear excuses.
I'm sorry.
I'm just joking. We weren't even going for completion of everything, so it was easy for me because you really can't lose the level. You can't die in that level. It's but getting all the collections was definitely a challenge for sure.
It's a really, really fun game if you want something chill to play.
Yeah.
Because it is nigh on impossible to die in the levels. So for something to just relax and not really have to think about a great deal is really refreshing for me, at least. It's something that I found that I've come to really love playing, especially this week as well.
Need something bright and cheery to cheer you up.
Yeah, yeah.
I
can't tell you how beautiful this game is. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing what they've been able to literally craft in the levels, and looking at the levels and actually really looking at them and spotting what everything is being made out of is so much fun.
So what I'm hearing is if you've got a little one maybe that's new to gaming or not like super into gaming and you want to get them onto a platformer, the first platformer, this is a really good game for that as well. Yeah. It's also good if you're a big kid or want, not just, that's derogatory. If you just want a nice, chill, relaxing game that is pretty to look at and soothing, it's got great music, great art direction, it's really good. Don't play a co-op though.
Yeah.
If you want to chill and relax.
Bottom line, yeah.
That did not work for me.
Yeah.
So you'd recommend it then? I'm sorry, Cherry.
No, yeah, I really do. It's one of those games that if you are a fan of collecting stuff, you can't go wrong with this because it has so much replayability. After you finish the levels, obviously the flip levels that you can do and collect the pooches. Then after that, there is a little robot that you speak to on each of the islands, and he will send you on a mission to go and find various objects within the levels themselves. And I was thinking about this earlier when I was playing it as well. With that element to it where he sends you back into the level, the objects that you find aren't clear cut. They're not like on the path that you're working through the level. You have to physically look around like in front of the level and behind the level as well in order to find the...
Where's Waldo up in there, right?
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate the level and the craft that has gone into these levels even more because you're physically having... Like, it's forcing you to look around the level to find these particular items. And I love that. I really do. Did
you ever play any of the Pikmin series?
I didn't, no.
This game reminds me a lot of that, especially Pikmin 3. What's crazy with Pikmin 3 is all the little knickknacks and stuff that you find, because you're literally, you're Olimar's from a race non-Earth, but it's obviously Earth sometime in the future. It's really kind of dark if you think about it, because all the humans are gone.
Okay.
But and all the creatures you pull out of the ground are little flowers, and when they die, they turn into little spirits and float away. Huh. But you find all these knickknacks like, a tuna can and things, and you can go into your inventory and look at them and they're super well rendered and detailed, and you find all these fruit that you have to collect to eat, and it reminds me of that, and that there's a lot of like when you're looking at the world, all the little stuff is clearly inspired by real world items, these crafted world items. So if you played Pikmin, you kind of have an idea what we're talking about here. But
I got that, and there were a few people in chat saying it reminded them of Little Big Planet.
Yeah, definitely.
With the kind of crafted objects that were in the world as well. And yeah, I've played, I think it's number 3 I played of that. And yeah, it's very, very, very similar kind of style to it.
So it sounds like we got a couple of thumbs up for Yoshi's Crafted World with some caveats.
Yeah, I mean... I was also speaking to Zerka about this, and obviously, like you were saying, he did co-op with Vox, and I don't think he has enjoyed it as much as he was expecting to, but I have told him to go and play it solo. I think that's where it really shines. It's nice that they've included the co-op, but I definitely think this is more of a solo player game.
I agree 100%. So, Cherry, how can people get a hold of you on the internets?
If you guys want to contact me in any way, shape, or form, I am on Twitter. That is at CherryCake518. I'm also on Twitch. Be wary that I may not be on as much over the next few weeks because of my arm.
She's been a champ streaming anyway.
If you want to catch me on there, you can at twitch.tv/CherryCakeTV. What about you, Crunk?
I actually changed my Twitter name this week.
Oh, what?
I'm at CrunkyTTV. It was because I got tired of saying on Twitch I'm at Crunky, and on Twitter I'm at Crunky_Twitch. It sounded really stupid to say on the podcast. So
how many episodes in?
Hey, it's only been like 2 years. So
anyway,
on Twitter I'm at CrunkyTTV, and on Twitch I'm at TwitchTV/Crunky with 2 N's. Also, I'm on YouTube. Miss Cherry Cake here is a wonderful video editor. If you guys need video editing services, contact her for pricing and availability, but she does a lot of my videos as well, and you can check them out there.
And also, if you guys are interested in supporting the podcast, we now also have a Patreon, which for starting at $2 per month, which is pittance, we do record 2 extra podcasts per month. So if you guys are interested in that, go and check it out at patreon.com/.
This week I'm sorry.
Go look yourself.
Go look yourself on Patreon. Well, I was going to tease the subject matter that we're recording this weekend, the episode for next week.
Yeah.
I was going to let you tease it.
Okay, this next episode that will be up next week, as recording this one, we will be talking about pre-releases and thoughts on our pre-releases. The ones that we were hyped for, the ones that we were disappointed in.
Yeah, and is it a good idea ever to pre-order a game or not?
Short answer, no.
No, the short answer is sometimes, but mostly no.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for being here. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.